I'm James Prather. I'm the Director of Marketing for CPA.com, and I'm here today with Jonathan Satterfield, President at Driven Business Solutions, to discuss his decision to apply and adopt .cpa as its primary domain. Welcome, Jonathan.
Thanks, James. Glad to be here.
And thank you for your time. So let's get started. Can you please share a little bit about yourself, your firm, its size, its location? And its specific focuses.
Yeah, absolutely. My name is Jonathan Satterfield. I'm the president of Driven Business Solutions, and we're a consulting and accounting firm based out of Southeast Michigan. And we primarily service individuals and small businesses because that's basically where I've spent my entire adult life and career and where my heart and soul is at. And we really decided to adopt the .cpa domain because it's a third-party verified, much like .gov or .mil or .edu, way to market myself in the digital economy. I run a remote-based business. I don't have an office front or kind of an office you can walk into. And I'm a firm believer that in 5 or 10 years, there's a younger generation that's kind of going to search the internet for a CPA. And if it isn't verified like .gov or .mil, they're going to be like, are you legitimate? And so I'm really trying to market myself towards a younger generation.
That's fantastic. Thank you so much for sharing that. It's exciting to hear. Let me ask you, how did you initially hear about .cpa domains, and what convinced you to take the action to apply? I think you mentioned it a little bit in your response a minute ago, but can you embellish on that?
Absolutely. So I'm really involved in my local accountancy association, the Michigan Institute of Certified Public Accountants. And so every year I go to our annual member symposium, and Barry Melanson comes in, and he had actually been talking about this coming through the pipeline for a couple of years. So I had known about it and had just been waiting kind of persistently for that door to open. And the minute it did, that very first day, I put in my applications, and I think within a couple of days of when they were supposed to start coming out, they issued them to me. And I immediately turned around and reached out to my IT team and said, deploy them, because I want to get rid of all the old domains and make my life simpler. So I went from drivenbiz.com to driven.cpa, and no one asks me to repeat it anymore. And it's very easy to remember.
That's a simple but truthful and poignant point. So thank you for sharing that. It's very interesting. You know, we've talked about in our communication, our marketing, and when we launched .cpa, we espoused 3 key value propositions, one being of trust, the other being of security, and the other being of branding, that unique branding, that .cpa branding. Of those 3, I know there are a ton of other value props and or benefits, if you will, but of those 3, trust, security, and branding, what would you say resonated with you the most, or resonates with you the most?
To me, it's the trust and the branding. When you look at the data, CPAs are the second most trusted and respected profession in the country. I think the data number 1 comes in at MD. And so we are highly trusted, and putting that at the front, no matter what we do with our licensure and our skill set, is keeping that public trust is at the utmost forefront of who we are and what we do. And then similarly, any way I can show people that I am that trustworthy person and professional and stand on the profession that way, no matter what I do, is an advantage. So in the branding, it's just another way to bring our profession to the forefront, because we touch everything in society.
And that's wonderful. Thank you. That's a very good point. In terms of the CPA itself, the activation of the domain, how long has it been up? How long has it been activated for you? Obviously, there's purchasing and adopt it. But in terms of the actual activation of it from .com to .cpa, how long has that been? How long has it been your primary domain?
It's been my primary domain since about the middle of November.
Okay. What internal communications have you sent out to clients, to your clients, with respect to announcing the change? And did you need to put any out?
No, I didn't really have to put any out. I've been very fortunate that in being a fairly new business, I've been fairly selective in my clientele and really trying to serve my niche market extremely well. I did, however, have to reach out and tell everyone that my domain was changing, and I have occasionally had people type out driven CPA.com. I think that's only happened twice since then. Otherwise, it took very little for the world to adopt it at face value, and start using it and kind of embrace it and be a little bit interested into, oh, so that's CPA and what did you have to do to get it? And so it's been nice. People are embracing it even more than I thought they would, and I didn't think they were going to have a problem embracing it at all.
That's wonderful. I was literally about to ask the next question, which was on my mind, was what was the response from your audiences, from your clients, if you will, in terms of the making the change? Were they excited? Were they inquisitive? What were their responses? And you touched on more of that. Do you want to go a little deeper there?
Yeah, and my client base ranges in age quite a bit, and so even some of my older clients were like, "That's really good for you. It's going to be good marketing for you." And these are older, very successful, like, entrepreneurs themselves. And a lot of my younger clients and people I talk to and use as sounding boards are like, you might not see the immediate payoff. However, long term, it's going to be a differentiator in the market. And the sooner you adopt those differentiating features, the better off you're going to be. So I'm jumping into it in every way possible.
Fantastic. Let me lean a little forward as far as the future goes for Driven, your organization, in the leveraging of .cpa. Where do you see that going? How do you see that coming together, or those the two benefiting and helping each other to achieve your vision?
Because I serve the small business space, and every year small business has to touch us in order to get their tax return compliance done. And generally, they're going to Google CPA or tax preparer. And so as it becomes, because it takes time for these top level domains to work their way through that internet system and through the search engines and everything. However, from what I've heard, Google and the search engines treat these third-party verified .mil, .gov, highly limited, very restricted domains with preference and deference, because they don't have to worry about who's actually sitting behind it. So I can't testify to that. I'm not a marketing professional or a digital marketing professional, but I've got one I trust, and that's what they told me. So I'm going to run with it. I don't think I'm going to lose if I do.
Fantastic. Thank you for sharing that, Jonathan. Really appreciate it. In terms of your peers, if they were listening to this discussion right now and they were on the fence, sort of small firms, mid-sized firms, if they're on the fence and they're about to adopt and or go down this path, what would you tell them about activating .cpas? What would be some of those encouraging words?
I would say, I mean, we're accountants, we do math. What is the cost of adopting it versus your potential reward? It's a pretty low investment, and if you're gonna throw something at something that's perceived risky, at least it's only a tiny little bit of money. And if it works, well, then you have this gigantic return on investment. We're all accountants, we like return on investment. That's the name of the game.
Fantastic. I love it. Nice, short, sweet, and succinct. Thank you for sharing that. Any final thoughts, Jonathan, that you'd like to share?
No, I would just really like to thank CPA.com and AI CPA and everyone who worked over the course of the last several years to pull the top level domain together. I would really encourage my peers to look into purchasing their .cpa domain and actually deploying it. I think your market will find they'll be more receptive than you anticipate. And then I'd like to thank you guys for giving me the opportunity to get out here and tell the world a little bit about myself and about CPA.com and what we bring to the world in small business and in industry and people.
Fantastic.